like this down the trail. People often mistake me for a day hiker. It's really kind of fun to walk up on people. I dress like this too. I wear a collared button-up shirt and sneakers, baseball cap, and cruising through the woods. They're like, oh, you up for a day hike? No, this is everything I need. So I'm going to dump all this out, and then we're going to go through. I'm just going to show and tell some of the fun stuff that I carry in the woods. There we go.
Is that how you set up camp too?
Every day. Every day. As you can see, it's a fine art. So this is my backpack. A traditional backpack is going to weigh anywhere from like 5, 6, 7 pounds with all the internal stays and the hip belts and everything. This thing is just a rucksack. It weighs 11 ounces. It has 2 shoulder straps, some outside pockets here, so I can organize some of my gear. I also like to dry my tarp in the mesh here if it ever gets wet. But that's it. This is a huge weight savings. If you look at traditional backpacking gear versus new backpacking gear, which reminds me, Andrew, could you run upstairs and get my gear list? Those photocopies I made, they're in the binocular drawer.
Absolutely.
Andrew's going to pass out my gear list, so as we're walking through, you can kind of look at some of the stuff I carry. But yeah, this is one of those big things that saves a lot of weight. But you also want to maybe wait till after you get the rest of your gear down in weight before you go as extreme as carrying an 11-ounce backpack. Because if you put 50 pounds of gear in here, it's going to explode. You're not going to have fun wearing it. But once you have lightweight gear, that becomes possible. So I don't carry a pack cover to keep my bag dry. What I use is a trash compactor bag. They're really lightweight. They're incredibly cheap. Buy them at any grocery store. What I do is I just put it inside my backpack. Instead of carrying it on the outside, it goes in the inside. Now, everything that I put in my backpack is going to be totally waterproof. The plastic bag is going to keep it dry. And I'm going to pack this as I normally do. So if it looks like it's a little bit out of order, that's just because of the way I put things in my pack. This is my sleeping pad. It weighs under 4 ounces. Gossamer Gear sells these. It's nitrogen impregnated closed cell foam. And it's just a torso pad. So as you can see how much coverage I get here, it's just from my shoulders down to my hips. I'll use some extra clothing under my head for a pillow. Sometimes I use my shoes. Under my legs, I will use sometimes my empty backpack if it is really cold. But I try to focus on camping or places where I haven't been heavily impacted by other campers. If you go to any campsite here, you know, the ground is all devoid of all vegetation, it's dished, it's hard, there's 1,000 other people that camp down there. I try to camp off of those areas so I have the natural forest stuff for insulation. It's nice and cushy, and then you don't need a big, huge inflatable sleeping pad. You can get away with something like this. Just pretty small and light. I'm sure there's a lot of people looking at this going, I would never sleep on that. That can't be comfortable, but it is. If you choose your campsites correctly, something like this, it's just going to stop the conductive heat loss from the earth. It just takes your heat away. So that's my little light sleeping pad. And now, when I pack this thing, another key to going ultra light is having multiple, using your gear for many different reasons. That didn't come out right. That's the Sierra Nevada talk. Having multiple uses for your gear.
So that's backpacking as well?
So this is not just my sleeping pad, it is also the frame for my backpack. So I put this in my pack like this, where my back would be. So now, that sleeping pad is going to protect my backpack from any sharp, pointy objects that I have in there, like my stove that might press against my back. It also gives it a little bit of rigidity, but it's mainly just in there to keep you from getting poked by other things in there. So now I have my 11-ounce backpack with the 4-ounce sleeping pad in my garbage sack, trash compactor bag, like so. This looks like a sleeping bag. We all have sleeping bags when we go out into the woods, but it's not a sleeping bag. This is a quilt, which is essentially a sleeping bag without the zipper. And the zipper weighs a few ounces. It's not a ton of weight. But again, I'm looking at my gear going, I'm carrying a sleeping bag and I zipper it up. Immediately the down underneath my body gets crushed. So it's not insulating me anymore. So why would I carry all this weight of a sleeping bag when as soon as I pull it out, fluff it up, and go to bed, I crush all the insulation, it's not doing anything. This is just like when you sleep at home with your blankets. You put the blanket on top of you, gravity keeps it down, it drapes around your sides, and it works just as well. This is one of those things that people gotta find out. Like, you don't have a zipper in your sleeping bag. That can't be warm. It's warm. It works just the same way as you do every time you sleep at home with a normal comforter.
So you sleep directly on the pad?
Yeah. Right in the pad. This over top of me. It's kind of drapes over top of me like that.
And you'd wear clothes, right?
Depending on the...
Well, I'm talking about for comfort.
I usually just sleep in my clothes because I'm a filthy guy. Sometimes I'll take off my shirt, but generally I'll just leave everything on, just for efficiency. So yeah, really start saving weight, not carrying the zipper, not carrying the extra insulation that'd be in a sleeping bag, or any of the fabric in there. So I pack this in a stuff sack, and then for extra waterproofing I use a turkey bag. They sell these at the store for roasting turkeys in. This is a plastic bag. I like to use the turkey bag because it's pretty strong. It holds up a little bit better than like a grocery bag you get from Fred Meyer's or whatnot. So my quilt, did everyone get those papers passed around? There we go. Yeah, everything's in grams too. Sorry. This works out well that way. I'll just wrap that up in my turkey bag. Cinch it tight with that.
How many grams we got there, Glenn?
I'm not going to be able to remember off the top of my head. Who knows? How much does my new tech down quilt weigh?
682 grams.
That's good. That's ultra light. So I generally pack this at the bottom of my bag. I don't use a compression sack either. I could save volume in my backpack by using a compression sack and really squishing this thing down. But every time you squish down in excess, you break the little feathers. So next time it lofts up, it's not going to be as warm. So I try to keep it. It's not super tight. You saw how easy it was for me to put it in there. Put that in the bottom of the pack. Like so. And then, let's see, focus on next. My ground cloth. So I have my, now let's do the tarp. You saw the picture of my tarp up there. You can see I have it's just on the ground, there's no floor to this thing. I set it up like an A-frame. I don't carry trekking poles. I usually, this is an old picture. I used to carry a bamboo hiking pole. Nowadays I just pick up a stick from the woods and use that as in lieu of an actual aluminum pole. So this is another huge weight savings. A tarp, this weighs 9 ounces. Super small, really lightweight. And what's the lightweight backpacking tents out in the market right now? They're like 4 pounds, maybe 3 pounds for a tent. Another huge weight savings. And as far as staying dry, I get that question a lot. How can you stay dry under a tarp? Well, a tarp is just a tent without all the extra weight. That looks like a tent, doesn't it? It doesn't have the poles, doesn't have the netting, doesn't have the floor, but it has the rain fly. Have you ever tried to set up a tent when it's pouring rain? You throw out the body of it, you put the poles in it while it's dumping rain and filling up the bathtub floor with water, and then you wrestle the rain fly over top, and that takes 3 or 4 minutes before you get all that tucked in. and then you climb in your nice, wet tent. Versus a tarp. As soon as I stake this thing out and set it up with the sticks that I find, immediately there's no more water coming in my sleeping area. It stays dry. It works. It really does.
What about like bugs getting in or?
That's next.
Okay.
So we got my 9-ounce tarp as opposed to... Sure.
What kind of string?
This is Easy C string. It's just it's got reflective fibers impregnated in it, so it's a little easier to find if I walk away to find huckleberries. It's synthetic.
What are the dimensions of that?
This is roughly maybe about 40 square feet or so. I use it as a solo shelter. Like, you could probably squeeze another person in there if they're small or you really like them. But I do all my backpacking solo, so I just carry enough just for me.
Have you ever gone with someone else?
I've hiked for stretches of the trail with other people, but I definitely am a solo hiker. This looks like something you might wrap a potato in the microwave, but this is my ground cloth. This is what I put on the ground. So if it did rain that day, this is going to protect me from the moisture coming up from the ground. And it looks really thin. It looks like tissue paper. This stuff will last almost an entire thread. I've carried, this is, Gossamer Gear sells this stuff, it's called Polypro. It's incredibly thin and lightweight, much stronger than it looks. Wads up to a little tiny lightweight ball.
Is that all like the turkey bag fabric, or is that?
It's very similar. Yeah.
How much did that go for?
This I think retails for $6 for tool.
Well, it's kind of steep, but I don't know.
I know.
Hard to fit in my budget.
Save up.
Find a buddy.
So now I have my tarp over top of me, protecting me from the rain. I have the Polypro ground cloth underneath me, protecting me from the moisture in the bottom. And then bugs. We all love the bugs. When I first started experimenting with sleeping under a tarp, I would just carry a mosquito head net. So I would lay under there with my quilt up to my shoulders, and I'd have this netting in my face, and the bugs were right here, just driving me crazy all night. It was infuriating. If it got too hot, I couldn't take off the top of my quilt because the bugs would eat me alive. What was I going to do? So I thought, what if I made a really big head net? What if I made a head net that I could use in conjunction with the umbrella I carry? Well, wait till I start talking about umbrellas. But we're going to just use the umbrella right now because we're talking about my sleep system. So what I do is I put my umbrella inside this, open it up, put this over top of me.
Whoa!
Now it has elastic in the bottom. So when I'm laying down on the ground, the elastic is going to keep it tight against my quilt. And now, if I'm laying down, I got plenty of room. The mosquitoes are way out here. I can read, I can look at my maps. Much more efficient and comfortable than that mosquito head net. A little bit of a weight penalty, but it really increases my enjoyment level because I can also stop for lunches.
Wow.
Yeah, get a lot of funny looks from people when you're hanging out on a log with an umbrella and a big mosquito net around you. But they're slapping all the bugs. And they all want one of these. Where can I buy one? Where can I buy one? I made this thing. Look how awesome this is. It works. It's stupid as all get out, but it works. So that's my shelter. You saw the tarp, you saw the ground cloth, the sleeping pad, the sleeping bag, the mosquito netting, which doubles as lunchtime netting. And since I'm holding the umbrella, I guess we'll get to this.
Yeah.
This is